So we thought we'd talk about a couple of our favorite projects individually. And I want to start with Purdue because obviously the success there is incredible. The impact is even greater. To be raising $420 million over 10 years, setting records those 10 years. Talk to me about how it first started and how it came to be, but what really worked there too.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue, I'm more proud of than anything else I've worked on because it was, doing work for them for 12 years, working with them on their Day of Giving and other projects as well. Just developing that relationship with a client is something that's a little rare in our industry, but being able to work with them that in depth and really work with a team who is just as devoted to the project. I mean, you and I have definitely worked on projects where, understandably, a client hires you to help market, helps advertise what their message or their product, and they want to set it and forget it, right? They have other stuff to do. They're hiring you for a reason to do it. And that's not how Purdue is. Purdue, they roll up their sleeves. They're all hands on deck. The whole team is part of the effort for Day of Giving, which is, that's a big part of why they succeed. But going back to how we started, they came to us. We had done 2 giving days for Columbia at that point, Columbia University in New York, that had broken the single day fundraising record for higher ed 2 years in a row. For Columbia, the first year was 6.8 million. And then we broke it the next year. So Purdue came to us. They said, we would love to do something like this, but we don't know what. We've never done anything like this before. We don't know what we want to do. And by the way, there's no way we're ever going to be that successful because, our alumni aren't as rah about the school as Columbia is. And I was like, wait a sec. Okay. So I understand you're Midwesterners and you're very humble, but I've seen Purdue basketball games. I've seen,
but I think the only thing I would add here is you're going back to a model that's been proven by one university once
right.
or twice. So they don't have a history of doing it, right? So
absolutely. They didn't have the history of having people. They had a history of people buying basketball tickets and football tickets, but they did not have a history of people giving back to the university in the same way. They felt that, no, people tend to, come to Purdue and they get their degree and they're proud of their degree, as they should be. It's a great school, especially for engineering and produce more astronauts than any other school. And they have a lot that they can brag about, but they felt that people weren't necessarily going to give back in the same way. And so they had, typically Midwestern humble goals for the first year. And that first year we didn't top Columbia, but we did way better than they expected. One person said they'd hoped to raise 300 grand. Another person said $500,000. And they ended up, blowing way past that, 7.4 million. They were just thrilled, and I believe it was 7,500 donations. That was the key thing that they were really proud of, even more than the dollar amount, because the dollar amount, to be fair, when you're talking about universities, sometimes that can really get juiced by a major donor who just wants to be part of this effort and puts in a ton. But the having gifts from 7,500 different donors really knocked their socks off. They thought, wow, we never thought we would be able to reach that large of an audience and convince them to give on that day. An interesting postscript of it is a concern they had going in, and I've heard this from many universities, is a concern that if you've really convinced people to give on Day of Giving or a giving day or whatever, and to be honest, a lot of the messaging around those days is often focused on participation. So it's like, it doesn't matter how much you give, just be part of it. Give $10, give whatever. So there is a fear that you get people to give on that day. They won't give again over the course of the year, and you may be limiting how much they can give if you have another effort later. And they found the opposite. They found that actually they were getting people who had never given before or who were lapsed, hadn't given in many years. And they were wrapping them up in the fervor of this event. And also they were developing a habit of giving where the people would come back year after year, but they'd also be more interested in messaging throughout the year for other events, and they would give to support other things that were important to them. And that, to me, really spoke to the importance of stewardship of donors. So they didn't just, put out their hand, ask for money, and then go away. They developed a relationship with this audience where we were having them communicate, like, what's the impact of donate? What is donation going to drive? How's it going to, what are the different areas it's going to support around the university, all different fields? What's it going to do for the School of Pharmacy versus the Honors College versus the football team versus cancer research, all these different things. So you could pick and choose what you wanted to support, what was important to you. And then you would get communication afterwards about what they were actually doing with that money. So you saw the impact of your effort. It wasn't just you're throwing money into a hole and, hopefully that goes to scholarships. I don't know. They would come back to you and say, we did 1,200 scholarships just for our school this year. And, here's what we're working on next. So then when other messaging came forward asking for stuff, people were more receptive to it.
Yeah, I think it really hammers home the story that I think we believe strongly, which is that regular communication, that consistency is important because and not only with the storytelling tools that are available, but people are inundated with messages. So if you're not in there telling them your stories of impact, then you're going to hurt yourself. And if you look at it from a standpoint of year round, one day can create a great deal of excitement and awareness that can have an after effect throughout the year. And I think that's what you saw. And I think knowing the story that you've continued growing the donors, can you talk about the growth of the donors from the first couple of years and where it is now?
Yeah, it grew every single year, even in COVID when they actually had to postpone on normally their day of giving is at the end of April, and they had to, because of COVID and, the university being shut down, it got postponed to September. So things were moved. The date was different. All the communication changed. That year, it barely went up. It went up a little bit, but every single year, the donor number has gone up and up and up, which has been amazing to see that, to go from that first year, because they understandably thought that there would be a ceiling, right? They thought, okay, we're not going to be able to keep increasing this year over year. But just this past year, there were 36,000 donors. So and that's in one day. That's the key thing to remember, is that's people who donated in a single day, in a 24-hour period. Yeah. And these are people who are now going to be receptive when you communicate to them about a capital campaign or a special, some other special effort. And just when you're communicating information about the university and its rankings, and, they also have benefited. Actually, the thing that I'm proudest of in all of that, and, I of course can't take full credit, but I take credit for helping support it in a time when education costs, I say this as a parent of 2 kids in college now and another one right around the corner, education costs are going through the roof, right? Like all over the place, just things cost more and more and more. Purdue has frozen tuition 14 years in a row. 14 years they've frozen tuition, and they've managed to knock down costs on some other things with room and board and stuff like that. So in a practical sense, in some ways, it costs less to go to Purdue today than it did 14 years ago. You can't say that about anything else in the world. And this is a situation too when the university's rankings have actually increased in field after field. I mean, it was already known as an engineering school, a school that produced astronauts and Drew Brees and some other famous athletes. But it's all these other schools and programs at Purdue are boosting in their rankings as well. So it's been really amazing to look at what has helped make that happen. Involvement on Day of Giving, both in terms of outright donations that have provided money to help fund this. I mean, 2023 is $110 million in a single day. And as you mentioned, $420 million over the course of the campaign. But beyond that, also having more alumni and family and friends involved in the communication from the university makes for an environment that, it lifts all boats, right? Like everybody benefits from that. Students benefit from having a more involved alumni body who are now more interested in mentoring students, in helping with the interview process, and just being more involved with their alma mater. It creates more community, which creates more success for everybody involved.
No doubt.
And I can't say enough about Purdue. I just want to say, we're talking about my work on it, but the Purdue team and how hard they work on this, it really is all hands on deck. Because we've worked with some other schools where fundraising is seen as that's the development arm or advancement. They handle that. We you have to put in a special request if you want to get a professor to film a little video or something like that. And at Purdue, it's the opposite mentality. It's just like, this day is a celebration. They have on-campus events for students. Students are having a party where they're wearing Day of Giving shirts, and for alumni to see that and think, oh, they're not just asking us for money. This is an event. We're all part of it. Really makes a huge difference. The president of Purdue runs around campus, does like a fundraising run where he's encouraging people to run with him around campus to get more attention and raise money. Like, how many schools do you know that where the president of the university goes out and runs with students on campus? It's really impressive to see.
Yeah, you can't guarantee that a president will always run, but I will say there's certainly a model for what it means to be involved and what it means to make this a campus-wide event.